بسم الله الحمد لله وحده والصلاة والسلام على من لا نبي بعده وعلى آله وصحبه ومن تمسك بسنته إلى يوم الدين وسلم تسليما كثيرا أما بعد. As we continue in the explanation of this great treatise entitled Fataawa al-Hamawiyyah al-Kubra, right? By Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah or Afwan Taqiyuddin Ahmed ibn Abdul Halim ibn Abdul Salam ibn Taymiyyah al-Harrani Dimashqi al-Numayri, the one who died 728 after the hijrah of our Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam. The day now is the 5th of Rajab, if I'm not mistaken. And the time is 7:27 p.m. Wow. On this day, according to the Gregorian calendar, which is what of January, everyone? The 26th of January, Thursday, the year 2223. On the Gregorian calendar, if I'm not mistaken, everyone. On the Hijri calendar, it is now the 5th of Rajab, but technically it is the night of Jumu'ah, the year 1444, after the migration of our Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam. We continue this blessed treatise discussing the affairs of what the great Imam had brought, of enlightening the Muslims in regards to their correct creed. The correct creed, where you'll find that these type of affairs, everyone, are also connected with Tawheed. A lot of people forget that this topic does revolve around Tawheed also, which is the Tawheed of Allah, which is called Al-Asma' wa-Sifat of Allah Jalla Jalaluhu. You'll find there was a book called Kitab al-Tawheed in the past. That's not the known book of Tawheed by the great Imam Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab rahimahullah. There's another book in Tawheed, which is by the great Imam who's called the Imam al-A'imma. He's called the Imam of the great A'imma. Who is that? The great Imam Muhammad ibn Ishaq ibn Khuzaymah rahimahullah. Muhammad ibn Ishaq ibn Khuzaymah rahimahullah, who died before Shaykh Muhammad Abdur Razzaq by approximately about 600 years, 700 years. You'll find this great Imam Muhammad ibn Ishaq ibn Khuzaymah, he has a book called Tawheed. The topic revolves around what is similar to the information we present in this book by the great Imam Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah, which the affairs is connected with the names and attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You'll find that the great Imam Muhammad ibn Ishaq ibn Khuzaymah rahimahullah, who held the title Imam al-A'imma. He's the Imam of the A'imma. So that's the high status of this great Imam rahimahullah, who had a book or treatise entitled Tawheed. And the topic revolved around, like we said, similar to the information that Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah mentioned in this great treatise that we're teaching the people from. So that is another book that's never been taught. That's a book that's tremendous. And like we said, there's a lot of books of the Sunnah that we never had the chance to teach here in this land or in this city specifically. From them is what we'll speak about is a book called Usul al-Sunnah by the great Imam Ibn Abi Zamanin. He was a great Imam. Ibn Abi Zamanin, he was from the ulama Qurtuba, which is Andalus, which is in Spain. It's from the areas of Spain, Portugal, and that area. Because we know that the Muslims used to rule Portugal. And they used to rule Spain. And we know that. If you look at the history, the Muslims ruled Spain, they ruled Portugal. Those are the areas of Andalus and Qurtuba. From those scholars was Ibn Abi Zamanin. Ibn Abi Zamanin, who that book called As-Sunnah was checked by our Shaykh, my teacher, or from my teachers, Shaykh Abdullah al-Bukhari, hafidhullah wa. You'll find that he also gave a tremendous service to that particular book by the great Imam Ibn Abi Zamanin. There's a lot of books of the Sunnah that we never had the chance to teach. And the people are abandoning learning these books and they're embarking upon entertainment on social media. And on platforms and different interviews and all those other things. So people are abandoning true knowledge and embarking upon those affairs that has little knowledge or little benefit or no benefit at all, depending on the affair or what they're speaking about. All they're trying to bring is a hot topic or bring what they call, what's the tea, of what's circulating currently in order to gain more what? Followers and subscribers and viewership. So these are the affairs that like we want to now present to the people, because like we said, the times are moving fast, and these are the books we need to focus on in order to teach the people and steer them the proper way, which will be a means for them to enter paradise. Because that's the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is trying to attain knowledge, to remove ignorance off of ourselves, number one, and to attain protection from the calls of the devil. Because the calls of the devil are plentiful these days. There's so many ways, so many doors, so many paths, it's ridiculous. But the people are being constantly bombarded with the calls of Iblis on a daily basis, and they don't know what direction to go in. In addition to, like we said, the affairs of ignorance in combined or in conjunction with sins are the most killer of all what? Of the hearts. Ignorance in conjunction with following their desires is the killer of one's heart. It will kill your heart dead. So that's the reason why, like we said, we not only start with these books, but we try to teach the people, because, like we said, the call of Iblis is becoming very what? Very strong. The call of the devil, or his calls, are very strong these days. And one of these affairs that will protect you is what we're teaching now, and attending these circles of knowledge. Attending the circles of knowledge is great barakah, great benefit, brothers and sisters, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it will be a means for one attaining his forgiveness. As it comes in Hadith Bukhari, about the man who came, or they were in circles of knowledge, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told the angels, bear witness, I have forgiven them. I've forgiven them. And there was an individual who came, and he was shy, and he came close, and then he wanted to learn, and it says that Allah was what? Shy from him. And then the individual who came, and he looked, and he turned away, and it says in the hadith, Allah turned away from him. So those matters to let one know that these are the circles of barakah, that, inshallah, they are from those sittings that the malaika attend. Who doesn't want to attend the circle where the angels attend? Especially those who are seeking knowledge, the angels attend those gatherings. So we lose out on that particular fadl, or that bounty, that blessing, when we listen to the internet. We lose out on that reward. That Allah's forgiveness and Allah's the attending of the angels, the attendance of the angels. We lose out on all those great bounty and blessings when what? When we are on the internet. Not to say, like we said, that people have times or people have circumstances. We're not saying that. But don't forget, everyone, our obligation, as much as we can, attend the Masjid. Because once you put yourself, or you distance yourself from the circles of Allah and His angels, you become more what? Prone to being around gatherings with our what? Close to the devils. To the devils, and being in certain places where it makes your iman weak. I haven't seen now one individual, I've been involved in da'wah for years, that distance themselves from the masajid and from the gatherings of knowledge, except Allah always tests them. Test them some certain way. And I see them maybe a year or 2 years later, and I'll be like, where you been? And then you could tell just by how they look, they're being tested. You might have seen their skin was clear one day, and then you've seen tattoos the next. They've been tested. Allah's testing them. You see something happen to them. Something. Where they're being tested. So that's what he's saying, everyone. It's incumbent upon us to hold on to the rope of Allah, and from the greatest of those affairs is what? To attend the circles of knowledge. And that's for all of us. As we strengthen one another. It's not just for me benefiting you, but you guys also what? Benefit me. We what? We strengthen each other. The mu'minun kal-bunyan yashuddu ba'duhum ba'da. As the hadith says of the Prophet ﷺ, right, everyone? That the mu'minun are like one structure. They strengthen what? They strengthen one another. Right or wrong? طيب. So let's continue, inshallah. So you'll find that we stopped the narration. We finished how the great Imam of the past, of those who defended the Sunnah, was the great Imam Abdur Razzaq Mahdi, rahimahullah. These are the type of great scholars of our religion, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made them the defenders of His religion against the forces of the millions of the devil. It was the great Imam, Al-Qudwa, Abdur Rahman al-Mahdi, rahimahullah. Abu Sa'id al-Anbari, this great Imam. So know who he is and memorize it. كان من الحفاظ المتقنين, as we talked about before, أهل الورع. Those who memorize, those who collected the narrations of the Prophet ﷺ, and how he spread that knowledge by authoring books and spreading the narrations and conveying of what he related and acquired of that knowledge. This great Imam is related upon him in another narration talking about Jahm al-Safwan. As I spoke about yesterday's class, Jahm al-Safwan, as we talked about, had taken knowledge from someone before him, which is Ja'ad ibn Dirham. Ja'ad ibn Dirham, who's the one who started the corrupt belief that Allah, there's nothing in the heavens, or there's nothing above the heavens. In addition to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not speak to Musa. And from the ideologies of the Jahmiyyah is that Allah did not take Ibrahim as a Khalil. لم يتخذ إبراهيم خليلا. So you'll find this is what Abdur Rahman al-Mahdi says. Now listen everyone. أصحاب الجهل يريدون أن يقولوا إن الله لم يكلم موسى ويريدون أن يقولوا ليس في السماء شيء وأن الله ليس على العرش أرى أن يستتابوا فإن تابوا وإلا قتلوا. We talked about this yesterday. This is where we start. It says that Allah did not speak to Musa. So it says here, this is what was from the statements of Jahm al-Safwan. And Jahm al-Safwan attained this statement from an individual before him, who was Ja'ad ibn Dirham. Ja'ad ibn Dirham attained this statement from who, everyone? Labid ibn al-A'sam. Ahsant. Not from the statement, but this is the isnad. Listen. So you have, listen to the isnad. You got Jahm al-Safwan saying Allah is not above. Now everyone, keep in mind where this nonsense came from. It came from the devil. Allah not being above the heavens. Right? Allah is not above. And Allah did not speak to Musa. Nor did Allah take Ibrahim as an intimate friend. Was a Khalil, right? Look to the isnad. The isnad starts with who? Jahm al-Safwan. Then it goes back to who? Goes back to before him who's who? Ja'ad ibn Dirham. Ja'ad ibn Dirham had taken this knowledge from who? Labid ibn al-A'sam. No. Before that, everyone. From who? Someone else. Talut. Talut had taken this knowledge from Labid ibn al-A'sam. Labid ibn al-A'sam is the one who was accused of making magic upon the Prophet ﷺ. So, you see the chain of these narrators of the calls that Allah is not above and that Allah did not speak to Musa. There's a chain of narrators that are black and satanic. Black and satanic, this type of what? Chain. To let you know that when you hear this nonsense from some of the Muslims, you know that's a call of the devil. Because the chain returns back to someone who's practicing magic. And the individual was not only an individual who's practicing magic, he attempted to do magic upon the Prophet ﷺ. And he was a Jew to the end of it, to the nonsense that we'll talk about later. But for what you'll find in this isnad is to let you know that how the Salaf were stern against these type of people. From them was, as we talked about, what Al-Alama ibn al-Qayyim mentioned in his poetry, which is a poetry of the Al-Aqidah al-Salafiyya al-Sunniyah, that's entitled Nuniyah, which is a tremendous book and poetry that if one was to memorize it, they will be a force to reckon with in belief in Aqidah. He said in his poetry, as we talked about yesterday, how Ja'ad ibn Dirham, who's the one who started the nonsense that Allah is not above and that Allah did not speak to Musa. In addition to saying that Allah did not take Ibrahim as a Khalil. As we talked about in the poetry, he said yesterday that Al-Alama ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah, that he said, وَكَذَلِكَ قَدْ ضَحَّ بِجَعْتَ خَادَ الْقَسْرِ يَوْمَ ذَبَائِحِ الْقُرْبَانِ. This is what we said yesterday. إِذْ قَالَ إِبْرَاهِيمُ لَيْسَ خَلِيلَهُ كَلَّا وَلَا مُوسَى كَلِيمَ الدَّانِ شكر الله ضحية كل صاحب سلة لله درك من أخي القرباني. As we talked about this yesterday, that the one who killed Ja'd ibn Dirham because of this type of corrupt, evil, satanic statement, the one who killed and slaughtered Ja'd ibn Dirham because of this nonsense was Khalid ibn Abdullah al-Qasri. Khalid ibn Abdullah al-Qasri. And he slaughtered Ja'd ibn Dirham on the day of the Eid al-Adha. He slaughtered him on the day of what? Eid al-Adha. You'll find that Khalid ibn Abdullah al-Qasri, he said on the day of Dhaba'ih al-Qurbani, he said, ضحوا تقبل الله ضحاياكم فإني اليوم ضح بجعد بن درهم فإنه يزعم أن الله لم يتخذ إبراهيم خليلا ولم يكلم موسى تكليما. He said, slaughter, O Muslims, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept your sacrifice. For verily me, today I am sacrificing Ja'd ibn Dirham, because verily he claims that he did not speak to Musa, or he did not speak to Musa, nor did he take Ibrahim as a close or intimate friend, and he slaughtered him on the day of the Eid. Those affairs, if you'll find in the narration, are for the what? The Muslim ruler. Because he was part of the what? The ruler. So it's not an affair that is what? Chaotic. Those affairs are in the hands of the authorities and what? The proper people that what? Are responsible for handling those affairs within society in order to stop corruption. And the greatest of all corruption is what? Perverted ideologies and the people's belief, which will lead to savagery within the land and corruption in the land. Because savagery and corruption in the land starts with warped, perverted ideologies of the mind and the heart. That's where it starts. Where the people's minds are wrecked. And as a result of it, it leads to what? It leads to savagery and it leads to chaos and corruption within the lands. But it all emanates from where? One's mind and one's belief. If that's corrupt, then what? Everything else will become corrupt. So that's the reason why you'll find that the rulers of the Sunnah of those days and times, they knew of these affairs and how the greatest form of corruption is anything that will taint the people's belief as it pertains to their Lord and their Creator. If that now is corrupted, then that's the start or the root or the foundation of all corruption within society. That's the reason why they used to cut it from its what? From its root. To make sure that the people's belief was protected. Their belief was protected because if that's jeopardized, then what? The affairs of this world is jeopardized, which will ultimately lead to what? Their affairs in the hereafter being jeopardized, which is the ultimate humiliation, where they will be in hell forever, or if they're not out of the fold of Islam, where their particular belief did not invalidate their belief, they will still be in hell temporarily. But at the end of the day, nobody wants to be in hell, whether it be forever or temporarily. People want to be in paradise. Nobody want to be in hell, not for a split second. To the point where on the day of resurrection, that people, when they see it, they'll be what? They'll be in severe horror and fright. Now to actually be thrown in it, with iyadha billah. So those are the type of predicaments that the Salaf realize. And in order to protect the people, their belief has to be what? Protected. Especially the belief that's connected with Rabbul Alameen. That's the reason why Khalid al-Qasri was so what? Very stern against this individual. He realized how important it is for the people's belief and their conviction as it pertains to Allah to be intact. And to the point that he was stern against Ja'd ibn Dirham. Like he said, if you look to the isnad of these type of people who say that Allah is not above, this is their isnad. It's a satanic, sadistic, filthy chain, which goes back to what? A magician. Who did what? Who did magic upon the Prophet ﷺ. So like I said, so it was Jahm al-Safwan, Ja'd ibn Dirham, Talut, Labid ibn al-A'sam to the end of it. Is it clear, everyone? Jayid. So let's keep going. طيب. So Abdul Rahman ibn al-Mahdi, he goes on to say, he says, I see, he says, for example, he says, يريدون أن يقولوا ليس في السماء شيء. They want to say that there's nothing in the heavens. Like we said, this statement, brothers and sisters, that there's nothing in the heavens. So where's Allah's arsh? We ask the people, what is this throne of Allah? That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has described that it's bigger than everything. It's bigger than everything. Where's this throne? That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has described as it being what? And as of Ibn Abbas, what comes in the Athar, of it being what? As being greater and bigger than everything in the heavens and earth. Where's this throne? Then they want to say that there's nothing above it. Allah has a throne, there's no one above it. Nothing. There's nothing there. If that's the case, like we said, these are statements, what everyone? Statements of atheism. When you say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is nothing above the heavens, there's no Lord that's worship that is above us, necessitates atheism. That's the reason why, like we said, these statements are extremely dangerous. So it says, you find the great Imam Abdur Rahman ibn al-Mahdi, he goes on to say, أَرَى أَن يُسْتَتَابُوا فَإِن تَابُوا وَإِلَّا قُتِلُوا. He says, I see that tawbah, repentance, is sought from them. So they're given a chance. So it's not like they're being killed unjustly, immediately, until what? Until that bloodshed is shed unjustly? No. Tawbah is what? Sought from them. Repentance from the ruler. The ruler will give them the opportunity. The affairs of the truth are clarified. Evidences are presented, made clear to them. If they refuse, then accept. That will be the affair. Or if they reject what is true, then what? They'll be killed. Is it clear, everyone? In order for corruption to stop being spread within society, and there's no greater form of corruption that's greater than murder and killing, and this is what I said yesterday, and even greater than LGBTQ. What is greater than LGBTQ is the most devastating, or if you want to say the most perverted of all ideologies, is warped beliefs pertaining to Rabbul Alami. Is greater than all of those matters. Unless the person makes a marriage contract. If you make a marriage contract, whether it be a person that is a lesbian or homosexual, that is a means to make it halal. That will nullify Islam. Is it clear, everyone? Like we said, a person that has fell into what they call ghalabat al-nafs, where their nafs has overtaken them, where they become extremely weak. A person that hides it shows that they're what? Shameful. Which means at the same time they're shy from Allah. And they feel bad. I'm just weak. I fell into something. But when a person hides it, it shows what, everyone? Your aqidah is still intact. Your belief is intact. That you feel remorse. You feel shame. You're shy. I'm weak. But at the same time, they feel within themselves that type of what? That type of remorse within themselves. And that individual, you have mercy for, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala one day will give them tawfiq to abandon the act and rectify their faith. However, when you broadcast it on the internet, and now you're saying, I'm making a marriage contract, and I'm calling witnesses, and I'm celebrating it, what do you think that is? That's an affair where you're making it what? Halal. Those are the matters that are extremely what? Dangerous. That type of act, that act is a nullifier in Islam because you're making it what, everyone? Making it halal. But however, what we were saying here, what's worse than that is these affairs of what we're speaking about now. These affairs and these type of beliefs are more beloved to the devil than those type of acts, those acts of LGBTQ. These are more beloved to the devil. He loves this. Any type of what? Acts that would necessitate deviation in a Muslim's belief. Is it clear, everyone? Those affairs are more beloved to the devil than acts of disobedience. طيب, so let's keep going. Al-Asma'i. So let's keep reading. وقال وعن الأصمعي, the great Imam, we'll speak about in a minute. Now listen to this. قال قدمت امرأة جهم فنزلت الدباغين فنزلت الدباغين فقال رجل عندها الله على عرشه فقالت محدود على محدود وقال الأصمعي كافرة بهذه المقالة. The great Imam al-Asma'i, who's the great Imam of Arabic, Hujjatul Adab, of manners and the tongue of the Arabic language, this great Imam al-Asma'i al-Salafi, who's a great Imam and well-grounded in the Arabic language. His real name was Abdul Malik ibn Qarib al-Asma'i, Sahib al-Lugha wal-Nahu wal-Gharib. He was the person that specialize in the fields of the Arabic language and grammar, and those rare vocabulary words that are used. Al-Gharib. Al-Gharib here means those rare vocabulary words that are used that you have to investigate to know their meanings. Like he specialized in that area also. Al-Gharib. And Al-Akhbar wal-Milh. Like we said, in regards to what? Those type of narrations. And like we said, those rare used vocabulary words in the Arabic language. The great Imam, Al-Shafi'i rahimahullah, said about this great Imam Al-Asma'i, he said, مَا عَبَّرَ أَحْدٌ عَنِ الْعَرَبِ بِمِثْلِ عِبَارَةِ الْأَصْمَعِيِّ. He said, there's no one from the Arab that expressed, meaning that they were proficient in the Arabic language, similar to the statements or the language of the great Imam Al-Asma'i. So this was a great praise by Al-Imam Al-Shafi'i. There's another great praise by the great Imam Yahya al-Ma'in. Yahya al-Ma'in said about this great Imam Al-Asma'i, he said, لم يكن ممن يكذب وكان من أعلم الناس في فنه. He was not from those who was known for lying. And he was most knowledgeable of the people in his what? In his specialty. What's his specialty, everyone? Specialty was in the Arabic language. You'll find, like we said, these are from the praiseworthy traits and the statements of this great Imam Al-Asma'i that the great Imam Shaykh Taymiyyah conveyed his statement upon. Is it clear, everyone? طيب. Now listen to this. He said that the wife of Jahl al-Safwan came. And he came to the Dabbaghin. The Dabbaghin. I guess the people who are involved inside of things pertaining to leathers or skins or something to that effect. Pertaining to people that work in the field of leathers and skins or something to that effect. Dabbaghin. So, فَقَالَ رَجُلٌ عِنْدَهَا. So a man was by her and he said that Allah is above the throne. Allah is above the throne. So listen to her statement, what she said. She said, "Mahdud ala mahdud." Something bounded upon something bounded. Something bounded upon something bounded. Al-Asma'i, when he heard that from her, he said, "Kafira bihadihi al-maqala." She's disbelieved by the statement. طيب. So, this is to let you know that the wife of Jahl al-Safwan became affected by her husband until she became deviated in the affair of the belief that Allah is above. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is above the heavens. Until the point she said a statement. This statement I want everyone to listen to. She said something bounded upon something bounded. This is the same affair of why those who've been affected by Greek philosophy from the Muslims that reject that Allah is above, they fell into what? Believing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is what? Similar to the creation, and that's why they rejected it. What do you mean? What do I mean? So I'm going to read it. And then I'll now make it clear. So listen. She said the statement, mahdud ala mahdud, something bounded upon something bounded. So basically she was making mockery. And at the same time, she was denying that Allah is above. لو قيل إنه على عرشه صار الرب محدودا. Because they saying, if it's said, or when you hear the statement, or when she heard the statement rather, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is above the throne, that means that Allah is bounded. Bounded upon bounding of something that is bounded. I'm going to break this all down, don't worry. So number one, we want to see, or rather we want to draw that this woman was affected by her husband. Right? Until she was able to make this type of what? Have the gall or have the audacity to make this type of statement. And at the same time, she's denying that Allah is above. She's saying something bounded upon something bounded. I want everyone, and I'm going to break it down real simple. When she said that statement, what did she do?
She made a law similar to the creation.
Ahsant. That's it. That's number one. She said bounded upon something bounded. Which necessitates is that she resembled Allah with the what? Creation. What came as a result of it? She rejected what? That Allah is above. So what they so-called try to flee away from, they what? Fall into it. That's why they what? Negate it. Is it clear? So what they so-called trying to flee away from, they fall into it. So she said, bounded upon what? Something bounded. Right? So let's keep going. I'm going to break it down even more. I'm going to give some more details. So, she believing that Allah is above the heavens, that Allah is separate and distinct from His creation, meaning that Allah is not mixed with the creation, and that Allah Ta'ala is bounded, meaning that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is similar to the creation. This type of statement. Now listen. ليس هناك تحديد مكان معين. So she's basically saying that when the people of bid'ah, when they come to you, and this happened to me about 10 years ago, people was affected by this aqidah, they came to me. They asked me a question. Do you believe Allah is in the place? That's what they said to me. Alright? You believe Allah is in the place? This is a trick question. First, number one, the Salaf never used the word place. I never said place. You said it. But you implied it within the question. So it's a trick question. You said, you believe Allah is in the place? I said, first, number one, to answer this question, we do not believe Allah is in the place. Excuse me, I'm sorry, Imam. We don't use the word place. Write that down. We do not use the word place. I want to correct my statement. We do not believe Allah, or we do not use the word makan. Sorry, I'm going to correct again. For those listening online, because I don't know, somebody might have heard that statement and they'll take it and run with it. This is a correction. We do not use the word place as an asl. The word place should not be used as it pertains to Allah. This should not be used. Okay? The word makan. However, when the people of bid'ah started coming with these type of statements in order to confuse the people, they tried to now make you fall into it. So they'll say, you believe Allah is in the place. So we say as an answer, number one, we do not use these words in its origin. Why? Because it doesn't come in Kitab al-Sunnah, the word place. That's the asl. That's the origin. The word makan, this word was not used in the book of Allah, nor in the Sunnah, the Message of Allah. That's number one. Number two, when you say the word place, you have to ask, what do you mean by place? Why, everyone? Because it can what? It can carry a meaning of truth and a meaning of falsehood at the same time. So, when you say the word place, you have to ask them, when they ask you, do you believe Allah is in a place? You have to ask them and reply, what do you mean by place? Well, make sure you say, first, number one, the word place should not be used in its origin, in its asl. And if you use the word place, what do you mean by it? Right? So now you put them in a place to answer, because when you say to them, what do you intend? What do you mean by the word place? Because in their minds, they believe that Allah is now what? Contained in the directions in the sky. That's why they fell into what they fell into. But you as the Sunni Salafi don't believe that. So when you say to them, what do you mean? Do you mean that Allah is contained in the sky? Because this is exactly what the woman of Jabal Safwan fell into. That's the reason why she what? Denied it. Is it clear what I'm saying so far? Don't worry, I'm going to say it again. Fine. This is what she fell into. She in her mind thinking that Allah being above necessitates that she's what? That Allah is engulfed within the directions of the creation. So Allah is restricted and bounded. So as a result of it, she went from what? That belief, to the point where she what? Negated it altogether to say, no, Allah's not above. What did she do? She resembled Allah with the creation. And she restricted Allah and also what? Brought Allah down to the creation. Meaning she dispraised Allah, not even realizing it. Right? So listen to this. So let's go back to what I just mentioned. Again, you say to the individual says to you, do you believe Allah is in the place? We say that us as the Salafis, the people of Hadith, these words were not used in its origin from the Kitab nor from the Sunnah. So we don't use it. But if you want to use the word, because this is a trick question you gave me, what do you intend by the word place? That's what you have to say. Because that's what they intended. In their minds, they thinking Allah is bounded within the creation and that the creation is what? Engulf him, right? We as the people of Sunnah say, when you say the word place, it shouldn't be used. But however, when it's used, it's what is intended by it. The false meaning is extracted and the proper meaning is what? Accepted. What's the improper meaning? What's the proper one, everyone? The improper one is the one that I just mentioned. Is that you believe that Allah is contained in the sky and engulfed by the creation, by all the directions. That is a belief we don't believe. The correct believing, or the correct belief from the word makan, is that Allah is bigger than everything. And that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, nothing contains him. Rather, he is bigger than everything. Just the mere Arsh of Allah is bigger than the heavens and earth and everything. If that's the Arsh, to the point where Ibn Abbas said about the Arsh, it cannot even be measured of how huge it is. And in comparison to the seven heavens, it's like comparing to what? The ring that's made out of steel that's thrown in the middle of a desert. That's how big just the mere kursi of Allah, not the Arsh, the kursi of Allah in comparison to the seven heavens. That's how big the kursi is. What about the Arsh? The kursi of Allah is bigger than everything in the heavens and earth. Bigger. To the point that the Arsh is bigger than the heavens and the earth and the kursi. The Arsh. In comparison, as it comes in the narration, is said to show you how small it is. It's like a steel ring being thrown in the middle of a desolate desert. If that's the Arsh, what about Allah? What about Allah himself? That lets you know that what? Allah is greater and bigger than everything in the heavens and earth. Is it clear? If that's what you mean by the word place, that's the ma'na, that's haqq, and that's what we believe. But that's not what they mean when they say the word place. But this is what we mean. So we extract the what? The correct meaning, and we what? Or we believe the correct meaning, and we take out and extract the what? The false one in order to reject it. Because the false meaning that's implied by them is something totally different. Because they believe in their minds that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala resembles the creation, because their minds cannot fathom something being bigger than all the directions. For some odd reason. I don't know why. And they're small, simplistic minds. And what's crazy is they think that they're glorifying Allah, but in actuality, what are they doing? They're lowering Allah. We're glorifying Allah. No, you're not. Because you say that Allah is bounded, something bounded to something bounded. So this is what this woman of Jahl al-Safwan what? Fell into. She fell into the what? The improper meaning of the word makan. Until she thought that the directions in the creation contains him or what? Engulfs Allah. That's the what? Improper meaning. We as the people of Sunnah believe what? Allah is bigger than everything. If the mere Arsh can't be counted or measured, what about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Allah is bigger than everything. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? Tayyib. So these are the type of meanings that she could not what? Understand. Her mind, her corrupted mind that was corrupted by Greek philosophy and logic, cannot what? Cannot give over the fact of believing that Allah is bigger than everything. So as a result, she said, mahdud ala mahdud. Something that was what? Bounded over to something that is what? Bounded. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? Excuse me. I don't know why. Anyway, so that's what the affair is. So you'll find a person will say, well, what's your evidence for that, Abdur Razzaq, as far as what you say? Listen what Shaykh Muhammad al-Jami says. It's exactly the same thing. He said, ليس هناك تحديد مكان معين. He said, there's nothing of a bounded specific place. For example, لا يقال إن الله في مكان. It's not said that Allah is in a place, meaning that the place contains him, where a specific place bounds him, where he's bounded by a specific place. Is it clear, everyone? Now listen to what he goes on to say, the great Imam. He said, لذلك هذه العبارة يتحفظ ويتحفظ أتباع السلف من استعمالها نفيا وإثباتا من القول بأن الله في مكان أو ليس في مكان. He said for that reason that the followers of the Salaf were well guarded. They stayed on guard of the usage of this word makan, either negating or affirming, meaning they stayed away from it in its origin. He said from the statement that Allah is in a place or He's not in a place. Why? Because now listen, it goes on to say, لأن العبارة ستحتمل معنى باطلا وصوابا. Because this type of word, it necessitates truth and falsehood at the same time. وكل عبارة تحتمل المعنيين لا تستعمل في حق الله لا نفيا ولا إثباتا. Every word that necessitates two meanings, with a meaning that's true and a meaning that's false, is not used as it pertains to Allah. Now, as far as negation or affirmation. Now, if a person uses it out of ignorance, he says, if they use this word makan, yustafsar. It's sought from them, what do they mean? What do they intend? He said, yustafsar. ماذا يريد? What do you intend? لأن لا يؤدي إلى ما أدى إليه فهم هذه المرأة. He says, in order for a person that they do not fall into or does not lead them, and what? It led this woman down, which is the wife of Jahm Safwan, by her saying something bounded upon something bounded. Meaning, what does that mean? Meaning that in a specific place that's bounded, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was bounded in. That is what? A mistake in one's belief. And that was from the contagious disease of her husband that had what? Affected her. He says, min adwa zawjiha, from the contagious disease from her what? Her husband that affected her. So, in actuality, the reason why they rejected the notion, or excuse me, rather the creed that Allah is above, because they resembled Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with what everyone? With the creation. They fell into it, and as a result of it, they what everyone? Negated it. Is it clear? جيد. قال الأصمعي, the great Imam, he goes on to say, he says, لأنها لم تقدر الله حق قدره وجعلته محدودا في محدود وهذه ردة لذلك حكم عليها بأنها كافرة. He said, when she said the statement, something bounded to something bounded. So they say, she said that Allah is bounded to a place, or the place is restricting him, or confining him. That's the reason why she what? Negated it, right? And like we said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is what everyone? It's bigger than everything. Like we said, just to be a kursi, just the kursi of Allah, in comparison to the seven heavens, even though the seven heavens from the first to the second is huge in our understanding, because that's all we know is what we seen from the creation. We haven't seen what is beyond that is greater of affairs that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has kept hidden from us. Or we're not able to see it yet. But however, the affairs of what we see, of course, the people who are upon deviant ideologies, that's all their minds they can't fathom nothing else. Cannot swallow or believe that something is greater than what they've seen or what they so-called of experience or what they have been or which has reached them of the little bit of knowledge they've been given. They can't see beyond that. So they're just thinking that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Him being above, is just bound into directions of something created. Wow. That's how you deem your Lord to be. You belittle Him in the name of so-called glorifying Him, but in actuality, you're what? You're belittling your Lord ta'ala. The seven heavens, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has described them, as seven. From one to the second is the distance of 500 years. In our minds, that's what? That's huge. But in regards to what is described, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned and described, his kursi, even though we deem it to be great, but in comparison to something being greater, which is the kursi of Allah, is like the steel, or like the size of a steel ring thrown in the middle of a desolate desert. That's from the first heaven to the second. In the seven heavens. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's kursi is bigger than all of that. If the kursi of Allah is bigger than all those great distances, what about His throne? His throne is bigger than everything. Rather, the throne is bigger than all the distances. Is it clear, everyone? And like we said, if that was the case in regards to the throne, then what about Allah Himself? Bigger than everything. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you want to just break it down, in order to put it in your mind and your creed, Allah is bigger than everything. Is it clear? Jayyid. So the Imam al-Asba'i, when he heard this statement from this woman, she said, لِأَنَّهَا لَمْ تُقَدِّرِ اللَّهِ حَقَّ قَدْرِ. She did not glorify Allah as He deserves to be glorified, until she made Him bounded or restricted to something else bounded and restricted of the distances so-called. Al-Asma'i said that this was what? Apostation. This was a type of what? Kufr. Until the point where she, or he rather, made the judge upon her being a disbeliever by the statement she uttered in this belief that she had. So we're about to finish, everyone, about to wrap up. Al-Asma'i, from the great Imam Asim ibn Ali ibn Asim. He was from the great Imam or the Shuyukh of an Imam Ahmed. And he was from the Shuyukh of the great Imam al-Bukhari, rahimahumullah. And from their tabaqa, and from their contemporaries, the same time, of those scholars in that particular time. He was the Shaykh of them. Asim ibn Ali ibn Asim, rahimahullah. And Asim ibn Ali ibn Asim, he was this great scholar. Of all these great scholars, he was a free slave. You'll find, like we said, when we have the opportunity, all these great ai you'll find at one time, they were what? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they were in a state of slavery, they were free, and they became the greatest of creation. This individual, Asim ibn Ali ibn Asim, she was what? He said he was a mawla qarina or qariba. She was a mawla of the woman named Qariba. This particular woman, Qariba, was the daughter of Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr as-Siddiq, the son of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. The Asim ibn Ali ibn Asim, they say that his majlis used to be full, to the point there was a lot of people that used to attend it. This is something we'll talk about later. I don't want to go too deep into this. Anyway, let's stick with the statement, and we'll mention the details of who he is next class, inshallah. So it says, Asim ibn Ali ibn Asim, Shaykh al-Imam Ahmed wal-Bukhari, وطبقتهما قال ناظرت جهما فتبين من كلامه أنه لا يؤمن أن في السماء ربا. He said that I debated Jahm, and it became clear to me from his speech that he does not believe of a Lord being above the heavens. He does not believe that. Rather, he negates that, which is a statement, like we said, of atheism. It's a statement of what? Atheism. Very dangerous, very what? Very ugly and uglified. That a person would not believe that their Lord not being above. إذن بما يؤمن إذا كان لا يؤمن بأن فوق سماواته على عرشه رب يعبد مستوى على عرشه. Now listen to this great profound statement of the great Imam Muhammad al-Jami. If he doesn't believe there's a Lord that's worshipped that's above him, then what does he believe in? If he does not believe that Allah is above the heavens, above the arsh, that there's a Lord that is worshipped, ascended above the throne, an ascension that befits him, that befits his majesty, separate and distinct from his creation, meaning not mixed with them. If he does not believe this iman, then there's no iman for him. If he does not have this type of iman, then there's no iman for him. So what is there else to learn that you don't believe of a Lord that's above? If you do not believe this type of iman, then there's no iman for them. لذلك القول الذي تكرره الآن الأشعرية تقليدا للجهمية إن الله في كل مكان. For that reason, you'll find that those who are upon the Sharia of today, currently in these current times, follow blindly of their predecessors from before, the Jahmiyyah. They say, indeed, Allah is everywhere. and that Allah is in the earth with us, or that He's in everything. He said this contradicts Iman. So be on guard, those who are what? Sighar al-talaba, the young students of knowledge, about this what? This tremendous, great, dangerous statement upon one's faith. مَا لَمْ يُعْذَرْ بِالْجَهْلِ, as long as they're not excused due to ignorance, just as we mentioned on many occasions. كَمَا قُلْنَا غَيْرَ مَا مَرَّ, just as we mentioned on many occasions. That a person can be what? Especially from the followers, from them, or the common folk that are misled by the so-called evil scholars that affected them. In this case here, people are excused due to their ignorance, even though what they believe is evil. But at the statement, what? At the same time, we believe that they are what? Excused due to their ignorance because those evil scholars affected and misled them. Is it clear, everyone? So, that is to put in perspective how one deals with this, the word makan, place. As we said, the people of the Sunnah never used this word in its origin. However, when it became used, due to the fact that the people of Bid'ah started using it in order to cause doubt within the Muslims, so they could carry some type of doubt within themselves as it pertains to Allah being above, then the Salaf were forced to what? Indulge in clarifying the truth from that word and extract it at the same time the falsehood, so the people could be on guard against it. But in its origin, the word place is not what? Used, because it can necessitate a corrupt meaning and it can necessitate a true one. And those type of words are not used as it pertains to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Is it clear, everyone? G. So we'll stop here. Any questions about the lesson? Like we said, we almost finished. The first volume is almost done. A couple of pages left. That's it.
I understand when he made the hukm upon his wife, she's a kafir. So generally believe that those who believe and have perversion beliefs like this, they're kafir. But if they've been corrupted by the evil scholars, then we say that it's because they've been corrupted by those scholars. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
No doubt. But you can say, if a person says this statement, right now, if a person says, like, for example, it's permissible to worship Buddha, a person come in, they say, hey, this statement is kufr, what are you talking about? You understand?
Yeah.
It's a statement of disbelief. Or right now, let's just say a Muslim comes in the masjid right now. I don't believe Allah is above. Are we going to say right then and there that person is kafir? No. We investigate. Do you know such and such? Do you know this? Do you know that? Majority of Muslims in the Masjid, it's sad to say, a lot of them have not finished none of these books. They haven't been taught. Like we said, we live in times where all people care about is bringing the most hottest topics in order to gain viewership, subscribers, and amass a lot of what? Numbers, and blowing up their platform. That's it. They're not educating the people by finishing these books and truly raising their knowledge. Everybody only these days, they look for what's the most hottest topics in order to what? To get the people to gravitate towards what they're listening to in order to gain more viewership, more numbers, and more what? More subscribers and more likes. Right? That's it. But they're not educating the people. They're not. And that's the reason why you'll find that ignorance is widespread. And that's even more of a reason for an individual. If they walked in and they said this type of statement, we will what? Clarify. Not quick to say, or just to say they're what? Kafir. They're not quick to do that. We don't resort to takfir so easily. But if the person, like we said, they have knowledge, especially from their heads, then like we said, they debated, and then the hujjah or the arguments are established upon them, the proofs. Then if it need be, then a person is deemed to be a kafir after that. That's something different. But the common folk are different. A lot of them are been misled by these type of individuals until they accept it. Then you have to now clarify to them and take your time. But like we said, now we live in days, ignorance is people love ignorance now. Yeah, they love it. All they think that they so-called attaining knowledge by looking at the most hottest topic of today. And that's it. They're not finishing any books anymore. The books and people finishing them, going from one book to finish another, people don't do that anymore. These are the days and times with some great darkness we live in. These books are being abandoned, and a lot of people who now don't have the patience to finish these books. They don't have it. They want instant, what's the word? They want instant shuhra, instant prestige. And we know prestige will what? Break your back. As we know, what did the Salaf used to say? That al-dhuhur, hubb al-dhuhur, taqsim al-dhuhur. Love of the chair, love of prestige and fame will break your back. So people, they want that instantly. I want the instant gratification, the praises. And those are the same type of people that they don't have the patience to finish these type of books. They don't have it. They don't have it within themselves. They can't. But a person now with status and money and prestige and position and power, it busies them from what? The sight and the goal of educating people. Because they're too busy trying to attain that fame. And that's why a lot of them are not able to do these type of books. They're not. They'll do it momentarily, and then after that, on to something else. You understand what I'm saying?
These are called them entertainers and mockers of religion.
Absolutely, no doubt. Absolutely, no doubt. Anything else, anyone? Anything else? Tafadal.
What was Imam?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Tafadal, I'm sorry.
What was Imam Osman? What was his name?
Abdul Malik. Abdul Malik ibn Qarib ibn Abdul Malik. I forgot I had to run to mark it again. Yeah, Abdul Malik ibn Abdul Qarib. Abdul Malik ibn Qarib. Qarib ibn Abdul Malik. Tafadal.
Is there a relation between Asim ibn Ali ibn Asim and Al-Asma'i?
In family?
Or like, was he a student or was he his teacher?
Oh. Did I say Asim ibn... My mistake. Khalil. Asim ibn Ali ibn Asim. No, he was the free slave of Qariba. Free slave of Qariba. But Al-Asma'i, his name was Abdul Malik ibn Qarib ibn Abdul Malik. Did I say that? I thought I said something different. But no, Asim was the free slave of Qariba. But there's no relation. That's why I thought that maybe you might have got mixed up at. Because his...
It wasn't because of that.
Oh, I thought it was. Because of Tafadal. Now, as far as relationship, you mean in family?
Like teacher or student.
Allahu Alam. I don't know. From what I see, I don't see the connection.
Just because they were mentioned
right after one another? Possibly. I would have to investigate it. Allahu Alam. La adri. I don't know. Anything else? طيب استعب إن شاء الله وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك لا إله إلا أنت استغفرك